Hello, and thanks for checking out Missed Meals and Cold Coffee. I'm Chef Lethal, and I've had some mild success on the internet as a live streamer, so I thought I'd bring those talents and my own life experiences to chat with you about parenthood. I'll cover topics ranging from infertility to the adoption process, while hopefully having some fun in the meantime. Now, before we get into the episode, my legal team has prepared the following disclaimer.
This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Any medical advice or information given by the host, Chef Lethal, or any of his guests should not be taken seriously or acted upon without the express consent of an actual medical professional. Please call your doctor if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours, as this may be an unintended side effect. Please follow Chef Lethal on Twitter at Chef Lethal Plays and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Chef Lethal Plays.
Now, with that out of the way, on to the show. Hello, and I want to say thank you so much to the legal team for deftly putting together that disclaimer every single week. It makes me feel so good. Welcome to the show. I am, of course, Chef Lethal, and this is Missed Meals and Cold Coffee, show number 6. 6 weeks in a row, guys. This is incredible. I am thrilled. I'm excited. Actually, I have a few thoughts I want to get out ahead of time before the actual content of the show. First of all, I'm streaming live on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Chef Lethal Plays. Complete last minute decision to do the recording tonight. I'm recording at night. So if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch later or now, there's some funny business going on with my green screen just because I don't have the beautiful natural light coming out from the window next to me. So also you can check me out on Twitter, Instagram. Chef Lethal Plays on there. youtube.com/c/Chef Lethal Plays. That's really hard to say. And then kofi.com/Chef Lethal if you want to help support the show. So today, before I get to the topic of today's episode, this week's episode, I want to talk about Christmas, okay? Because I realize that by the time this episode comes out, this is scheduled for the 20th of January. But there's a story that happened on Christmas that I haven't shared, and it's pretty funny because it involves my pain, and generally that's pretty funny to people. So, so my two older kids, they have like everything in life that they ever want. Like we take care of them, obviously, and they have all toys, books, everything they want. Right. So a few years ago, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, stepfather-in-law, whatever, got them a, what's it called? Like a swing set for the backyard, a big swing set. It's got like swings and a little mini trampoline and stuff. And, that was probably 2 years ago. And even when we got it, it was like it's a little small, but they've still used it all the time now. Even though my son is 9, he still uses it. We'll look in the backyard and see them swinging or jumping on the trampoline, whatever, being crazy, climbing on it now. Their big thing was been climbing all over this thing because it's one of those like metal bars, like support system thing, and like just a traditional stereotypical sort of swing set for kids. So my in-laws, we in talking to them, we tell them that they're not even really using it to swing anymore. They're just climbing on it. So they got for Christmas in this past Christmas 2020 this dome like jungle gym thing, and it's just metal bars, right? So it's like metal bars arranged into a dome, and it's just used to climb and be goofy on, and just be kids and climb around and stuff. So they spent hours assembling this thing on Christmas morning through the afternoon, and we finally get the kids out of their quiet time after everything was assembled, and we're like, okay, kids, go check it out. It's done. And the reaction they give was so tepid. They were like, oh, okay, that's cool. And, just kind of scratching their heads. And that's not fair. I mean, it was probably expensive and a lot of time put into to put it together. I mean, hours, at least 3 hours. I want to say it's like 3 hours. So the kids go out, we encourage, get your shoes on, go play. And so they kind of like, meander to the backyard and they start kind of, doing their thing on it. They're just confused, maybe because they just woke up from a nap. I don't know. But not to let me see how I can put this. My in-laws deserved a better reaction for the gift than the kids gave them. So I ran inside, put my flip-flops on, and I said, yes! And I ran out in the backyard and I started climbing all over this thing, and I was doing this and I was doing that, and it was just like being crazy, and it was funny, they took pictures and videos and whatever. But it was just, I was having a good time. So I climb up and I get in and I start to do like a flippy thing on like a tumble on one of the bars, and I'm an adult, I'm a grown man, and I'm not made for this thing. So I do a flip over, and the back of my legs, like right underneath my knee joint, bangs into one of the other metal bars. So I did like a front flip over, and I was like, look at me, bam. Ooh, that hurt. I had two enormous bruises on the back of my legs. They actually hurt for the next day, like 24 hours. My legs were throbbing. They hurt. I banged them real good, but I was a good sport about it, and it made people laugh. Hopefully you got a little chuckle out of that. It's kind of one of those stories that's, not as good if you weren't there, but hopefully you can take some solace in my pain, because, that's the sort of things that happens. Anyway, that was Christmas. That was a month ago. Today, show number 6, Missed Meals and Cold Coffee. We're going to be talking about being pregnant during COVID. Now, I wasn't pregnant, obviously. That'd be really weird, and that'd be a whole different show. But my wife was pregnant. And of course, hopefully within a few months of even releasing this, recording this, whatever, this topic will be irrelevant because we'll all be immunized and whatever. But for the time being, this is what our experience was, and it's kind of crazy. So the first thing I want to say is that our baby, Mini Lethal number 3, was not a COVID baby. I may have mentioned this in a previous show, but she was born in September, late September. She was conceived in January, so she was not a COVID baby. She was born during the pandemic, and we had to go through the pandemic while pregnant. But January, we were still kind of quote unquote in the clear in the United States. It was just kind of still a mystery what the coronavirus was. So anyway, I want to get that out of the way. So we have to do the housekeeping. I already gave the social plugs, but caveat, this was my experience. Your mileage may vary, yada yada yada. We're actually kind of getting to the end of where my experiences will be show content, and it will just kind of be, I don't even know anymore. I have no idea. We'll have to see what happens after the next couple episodes. I have 2 more episodes after this already pre-planned. So, but yeah, at a certain point, my own experiences will be null and void, I suppose. But anyway, back to the show at hand. Back to the topic. One thing about COVID is that we have taken it seriously since the beginning. We found out we were pregnant. You find out on a previous episode that I found out we were pregnant on Valentine's Day. We found out, both of us. So Valentine's Day, February 14, we didn't have stay-at-home orders, and like the pandemic wasn't announced like officially this is the COVID-19 pandemic until like March. So we had about a month where we were pregnant, and we were still going to work, and we were still, everything was kind of normal. So we would have anyway treated COVID very seriously, even if we weren't pregnant. But given that this is just an additional layer to the onion, we, not the website, like a metaphorical onion, we took things even more carefully than we would have if we were just normal, not pregnant type of situation. So we did a lot of limited. I did most of the grocery shopping. I did it only when we really had to. We had a lot of takeout, curbside, delivery, stuff like that. We wore our masks everywhere. I wore my mask everywhere. I still do. I mean, that's still the point. But, we just made sure that Mrs. Lethal stayed home as much as possible because, one, she was already a high-risk pregnancy. We talked about that before, but with her previous blood clot, and I learned this during this process, but if you are in your 30s, you are considered a high risk pregnancy immediately. Boom, full stop. So immediately they're considered high risk. And so she pretty much stayed home most of the time. And she got real stir crazy. Like it was hard, like it was hard for both of us, so that like I had to, I don't know, I want to say, I don't make it seem like I had to do anything, but I was the one to do the grocery shopping because I was the not high risk person. I was not carrying child. And, I was the one to go do this and that. And I was able to at least get out into the sunlight and, to the world and see other people. But Mrs. Lethal pretty much was home most of the time. And that's, she's getting stir crazy. It was a little nutty. So occasionally, she'd kind of just go out for a drive and maybe call her mom or something like that. But it was just enough to get her out of the walls of this house and at least feel like she was doing something. But yeah, I was the one out, doing all the grocery shopping, doing anything that we had to do. Always on high alert. Always, we have a repertoire of masks now. But even in the beginning, we had masks and everything. So, it was just, being pregnant is hard enough. Like, going through pregnancy is hard enough. But then you add in this extra layer, and it's a layer that there's no books about it, because it just happened. There's no books about being pregnant during a pandemic. If there are, I don't know, we didn't look for them, but not that we would have read them anyway. Readings for dummies. I'm kidding, maybe. But yeah, this was just a brand new experience. We've never been pregnant. No one's been in a global pandemic before, so we had to just kind of do the best we could and be as safe as we could while still, maintaining the things that we had to do and having a baby. So, when you're pregnant, I say you're in the general sense, like obviously I'm not going to be pregnant, but it's my wife. But generally, when a couple, spousal couple, whatever couple is married, you just refer to them as married, or not married, as pregnant. Wow. Okay, this is fun. So I talked about last week that when we found out we were pregnant, I wasn't particularly excited, and I hesitate to even say that now because our daughter's here and she's beautiful and she's amazing and I love her so much. But in those first weeks, maybe even weeks of finding out we were pregnant, I wasn't really thrilled. It was just kind of like, okay, this is happening. It was just a very just matter of fact thing, and that's how I felt. I'm just being honest. Again, I know I have family members that listen to this now and certain friends and whatever, but I'm just being honest. You can't judge me. This is a judgment free zone. This is the Planet Fitness of podcasts right now. So just don't judge me. I wasn't excited, But so normally when you're pregnant in a normal environment, not COVID, you have your certain milestone checkups that the lady goes to the doctor, and they do the ultrasounds and everything. So the first ultrasound is obviously very important because you get to see sort of formations of what you're basically it's basically the confirmation that yes, there is in fact a human, hopefully, growing inside of you. So with COVID, they say, at least, okay, so again, another caveat, I meant to put this at the top of the show, but this was our experience, with our doctors and eventually our hospital that we went to and our bubble. Obviously, if you're going through pregnancy right now, you may have a different situation. You may have different cooperations with nurses, doctors, whatever. But this is just how it was for us. So it was, it is different. Everyone's going to be different, is what I have to say. I have to say that every episode because, God forbid, somebody doesn't listen to one of the previous episodes where they say that and they get all pissed off at me in YouTube comments or something and like whatever. Anyway, so during these visits, they kind of warned Mrs. Lethal, like, you know, we really want you to kind of be by yourself, and you know, you can't bring any kids, and we're only letting in a certain number of people into the office at a time, and only having like 2 people in the waiting room at a time, so you may have to wait in your car. And I was like, okay, but for her very first checkup, I guess it was a checkup. It was the very first time that she went to the doctor for the ultrasound. It was like after we found out we were pregnant, and then I guess it would have been late February, early March, where okay, it was, I have it in my notes actually. It was in the 8th week of the pregnancy. Everything's done by weeks in pregnancy. So in the 8th week, they had the first ultrasound, and I was able to go, and that was kind of a big deal. So I was able to go and see the formation of, you know, whatever little tiny bit that it was at 8 weeks, and that's when it hit me. Like that's when kind of like my feelings started to change. Like, oh shoot, this isn't just some abstract thing, you know. It's not just like, oh, you're pregnant. It was like, oh, you're pregnant, and that's mine, and that's ours, you know, kind of thing. So that's when it hit. So I was able to be there for the very first ultrasound, which was really important. Looking back, is really important to me. We took pictures. It was kind of a joke because we did not expect this to happen in the slightest bit. If you would go back to show number 2, infertility and whatnot, yeah, we absolutely, this was an impossibility for us. So then this was the confirmation. Yes, you're pregnant. Yes, this looks okay right now. And you know, we ended up calling my mother-in-law, and she laughed at us, like hysterically laughed at us on the phone. It was actually really funny. But yeah, so we go to the you know, we go to the doctor's office, and everyone's masked up. They only have a few patients in the office, so it was they did it very good. So beyond that, beyond the first one, women have a schedule of when the office would like to see you, to make sure that, you know, the baby's developing, you're doing okay, and no complications are happening. And after that first ultrasound, hey, Rat Pack in the Twitch chat, what's going on, man? Welcome on in. Love your face. After that first ultrasound appointment, I didn't go to another single one, because they were very adamant, and especially as the pandemic was getting worse and worse, they were very adamant about only Mrs. Lethal could go. One person at a time. That's it. So, you know, as time was going on after that first appointment, I was getting more and more excited, and more, you know, kind of like feeling the realness of everything happening. And I felt like I was going to miss out on some things. So one of the techs recommended that we do like FaceTime during the ultrasounds, and that was great. Of course, I don't have an Apple phone, so we had to use Google Hangouts. But it was really good. So I was working at home, and she had to go to his appointments, and I could just whip out my phone and just watch, you know, and we could chat and everything, but she would, you know, point her phone at the screen, and we could see everything. And for me, that was such a relief, because, you know, traditionally, you know, the husband and wife go to the doctor, and they see the ultrasound, and it's a very, you know, it's a very togetherness moment. You're watching your baby grow, and you miss that, you know. I mean, the COVID really screwed up a lot of things with people that normally do things together, you know. And you know, they make a big point, and I say they, just general media make a big point, and it is a big point, where people would have to pass in the hospital alone, because, you know, that's COVID ward, and you can't have other people there. But on the complete flip side, you know, normally people are bringing in life with friends and family or whoever support people, and you can't. That was completely off the table. And, you know, it was like, kind of, I got lucky that I could go to that first ultrasound, but then going to the next ones, it was all done virtually. So I was able to, you know, phone in via Google and could watch everything. And one of the cool moments that happened was, we were doing this FaceTime. I'm just going to say FaceTime. It's faster. We were doing this FaceTime, and it was the first time that we heard our baby's heartbeat, and I was able to witness it live via the FaceTime. And it was like, that was a really big pivotal turning point for me. So I don't remember exactly what week it was or what point it was, but it was like, you know, we start out, find out we're pregnant. I'm in denial. It's like the stages of grief, but not really grief. But you know, I'm kind of going through like, oh man, do we really want to do this? You know, maybe it won't work out, kind of thing. And then, you know, then we see the first ultrasound, and I start thinking, okay, this is happening. This is okay. You know, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna figure it out. But then once I heard those heartbeats, it was like, oh shoot, that's my baby. And that was a big turning point for me emotionally of when I started actually getting excited. And it was a crescendo. It was an acceleration of excitement. It wasn't like I was immediately head over heels and like jumping for joy and all this stuff. But it signaled for me two things. One, we had a healthy baby, which is absolutely amazing. We were very blessed that our baby is completely healthy, and we found, you know, through all these checkups, we knew that she was healthy. And that two, that this was the heartbeat that I got to experience. And one of the really cool things was for Father's Day last year, so 2020, Mrs. Lethal found like an Etsy shop or some shop, I think they were in Turkey, based out of Turkey, that make custom jewelry. And she actually got me a bracelet that has my daughter's first heartbeat, like imagegram. I don't know what it's called, but image on it, you know, like the wavy thingy dig. I'm making this sound really cool. But it was like, it's really, I immediately welled up and started bawling my eyes out in front of my family when I received that. But it is beautiful. Like, it's a really nice leather band, and it's got my daughter's heartbeat on it. It's so cool. And that I got to experience that when, you know, had we not been given the opportunity or given the suggestion to do FaceTime, I would have missed that, you know, and that would have been I mean, to say the least, a big bummer. So then the rest of her checkups went normal, you know. I'd be staying at home, and I had to work. I was working anyway. We were working at home because of the pandemic, but you know, she'd go to her appointment and would FaceTime if we could. If we couldn't, the milestones were met for me. You know, like I saw the very first images of the baby. I saw and heard her heartbeat. And then occasionally, you know, a few of them I was able to join, and the connection in the office was really bad. So sometimes we would technically be connected, but I wouldn't really get to see anything, but the opportunity was there, you know? So it was good. So I would say this now, if you are listening to this in 2020 or you can't, technically it is impossible for you to be listening to this in 2020. If you're listening to this in 2021 and you're pregnant and it's your OBG, I think it's the OBGYN. Anyway, if your doctor is telling you that, you know, we're limiting patients, you can only come by yourself, your spouse has to stay at home, ask your tech if you can do a virtual, like a hangout while they're doing the ultrasound. Point your phone to the screen. It's not as good as being there, but it's certainly better than missing out completely and only hearing the stories from the drive home. So, you know, again, that was really good. I know one particular other Twitch streamer who is having a baby had put out a tweet semi-recently, a few months ago, I guess, that they were pregnant, and he was bummed out. Like, he's like, you know, one thing bad about being the dad is, you know, especially during this time, is, you know, I miss all the ultrasounds and stuff. And I actually replied to him and said, do a FaceTime, dude. Like, you don't have to miss out on this. You can't be there maybe, but you can still kind of be there and at least experience some of that, you know. And it's better than, I mean, it's certainly better than nothing. You know, we all have to adapt to what we're doing during this time, and that's one adaptation that I think was really smart, and it worked out. Like I said, it was, you know, it was very pivotal in me, because if I had missed that, like if I had missed the heartbeat via Hangout, if Mrs. Lethal had just called me on the way home, like, oh my gosh, I heard her heartbeat, she's healthy and it's amazing. Okay, cool. That's just something you're telling me. I didn't get to experience that. If anything, I might even have felt more sad that I couldn't have been there, and like you got to experience this thing without me. And I don't know if I've made it totally clear. Hopefully I have over these last 5 episodes. But even if you're familiar with like my Twitch streams or anything like that from the past, Mrs. Lethal and I are very close. Like, we're very, not even just close like mentally, as far as like the things that we like and normal married stuff, but like we are very close as far as our feelings, emotions, want to do everything together. Like we've been in lockdown for almost a year now and we haven't killed each other. In fact, we have still some of our best moments just goofing off, being alone, you know? We have a really, really strong, great relationship. And I would have probably been bummed if she called me and said, I got to hear our baby's heartbeat for the first time and you didn't. She wouldn't have said it like that. I'm posturizing, I guess, or whatever. But that's how I would have felt. Like, dang, man, I really missed out. Thanks, COVID. You really screwed us up on this. But that didn't happen. I got to see it. And I feel like if you're going through pregnancy and you can't go to the office, it's the least you can get to experience is the heartbeat for your baby. I've harped on that point, that one single point, a lot longer than I thought I was going to. But I mean, I guess, I'm kind of riffing right now, but it's that important. It's like, especially if you're like me and you were kind of trepidatious finding out you're pregnant, and then kind of going through and going through all these emotions. It's important. Like that's the big step of, okay, this is a real human being that's happening. It's not just some thought. It's an actual person in there, and they're growing and it's cool. So anyway, like I said, I harped on that way longer than I thought I was going to. So as we all know from just television shows and whatever, but being pregnant in general is tough. It was really tough for my mother-in-law. She wanted to visit so much, even in the early days when Mrs. Letha was still basically normal. But she just wanted to visit all the time and help out, but she couldn't because we're in a pandemic. And, again, we were being super careful. Like it's kind of like a double edge here, but like if we weren't pregnant, we probably would have felt more comfortable with her coming down more frequently, but the need for her to come down more frequently wouldn't have been there because we weren't pregnant. So there's that, that scale of left and right. But we were pregnant and she wanted to come down like every single day and she couldn't, and it was killing her. So that's just another wrinkle in the plan you have to keep in mind, or we had to at least keep in mind. I don't know if you have to. I don't know you. But so that everything, all the norms of being pregnant and going through pregnancy have to be rethought. So baby shower, traditionally, you have a bunch of people show up at a place and you play stupid games and you exchange gifts and it's very awkward and that's it. We can't do that. You can't do that in a pandemic. So we had to get pretty creative, and the result of what we had was great. Like, I wouldn't shut up about it for a few days. Like, I'm just a normal guy. I don't really enjoy baby showers. I'm introverted. I don't thrive in large groups. But what we did was great. I know there were a lot of people that did Zoom baby showers, or people that drive-by baby showers. What we did was way better. The people that organized it were amazing and got it nail on the head, boom. And I'll tell you exactly what it was next episode because I don't want to spoil anything. And then kind of skipping ahead, we all have that vision in our head. Or at least I feel like we all have that vision in our head where, the woman's about to give birth. You're in the labor and delivery room and the husband's there and maybe, your other kids are there. I don't know who would bring their kids, but maybe they're in the waiting room, with grandma or whoever. And you've got people there. You've got like a whole support team of people like ready to usher in this life from your loins. And nope, can't do that. That's gone. So that was another thing that killed my mother-in-law. Like, she couldn't be down here to witness the birth of this child, or at least help us in some way. Like, but she helped us immensely. Let me get that out of the way. She helped us immensely. She took our kids, our older kids, prior to the delivery. So like, we know when about we were going to have to go to the hospital, and we met with my in-laws and dropped our kids off, so that we didn't have to worry about how long we were gone and all this stuff. So, and what did we do with Lucy? We may have boarded Lucy. Honestly, I don't even. We had to have boarded Lucy. our dog, if you didn't watch or listen to the first episode. So you're this societal norm of giving birth with a crowd of people around you, or at least one other person, it didn't happen. I was able to go, and that was it. Like, it was one person. And yeah, so it's just a little different. So and if you give birth and you have a baby, and then your mother-in-law or your mother, I can't speak to my mother because she is no longer here, but that's why I keep saying mother-in-law, but she wanted to visit like immediately, like, let me come down and help with the baby. We can't. The baby's 1 day old, 2 days old, COVID, high risk, we're being super careful, can't do it. So it like crushed everybody, because Lord knows we could have used the help. But it was I can't stress this enough, and I'm not just saying this because I'm virtually certain she's going to watch this or listen to this show. But what she did for us was amazing. She took our 9 and 7-year-old for 2 weeks, and they had their laptops, they had everything, so they were able to do their schooling and everything like that, and my in-laws' house, and allowed us time to just figure out what the heck you do with a baby. Because we had no idea, and that's a future episode of that portion of I guess the completion of the pregnancy. That's a couple of weeks away, but if we didn't have that, like, it would have been really hard, doing impossible, I think, to have this kid with our other children at the house. So that was amazing. Let me think. I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to harp on and stress into the ground. But yeah, so I was the only one there for the actual hospital visit and bringing life into the world. And then for weeks afterwards, it was just Mrs. Lethal, myself, the baby, and then the 2 kids to figure out what the heck you do at home with a baby. So I'm going to wrap it up right here. I want to thank you for listening to this part anyway. At least you got this far, right? I feel like at one of these episodes, I'm going to do like a giveaway or something. I'm going to say like, okay, we've been recording for 30 minutes. If you tweet me this key phrase, I will give you a $20 Amazon gift card or something like that. I'm not going to do that right now, but maybe if we start to get popular, because people need to listen to the end. The ending is the best part. If I say it, it has to be true, right? Okay, so as I mentioned at the top of the show, check me out, Twitter, Instagram, Chef Lethal Plays. Just anecdotal stuff, occasional food pictures, nothing serious. If you're enjoying the show and you want to chuck $1 at my face, please do Ko-fi.com/Chef Lethal. It's ko-fi.com/Chef Lethal. I have been drinking a lot more coffee than normal these days. I generally try to just have my first cup by 4 a.m. or at 4 a.m. and then kind of go from there. Usually the second cup does get cold, hence cold coffee. Yeah, if you're listening to the audio version on Spotify, thank you so much. The video version is also available on my YouTube channel. Stream it live on Twitch, which I also put the VOD, the video on demand, up on Twitch as well, so you can watch it there. So there's many different avenues for you to catch the show, in case you want to check the backlog if you missed an episode. I'll keep them up as long as I possibly can. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Missed Meals and Cold Coffee. Next week, you don't want to miss it. I'm going to be actually giving the details of how awesome our baby shower was and what the home stretch to giving the birth was like. Okay, so until next time, Chef Lethal here, signing off, wishing you a full plate and a hot coffee.